So here we are for part 3 of our FM synthesis workshop, and today we're going to be focusing mostly on pads and leads. In the past few hangouts we've done drums and bass, so just to do a tiny bit of review here, I'm going to grab one operator. I'm just going to call this drums, and I'm going to control click and group this to a drum rack. Now I've got this pad I can call kick, and I'm going to do my kick things where I take a sine wave with full sustain, and I put it in fixed mode, and I start at about 100 hertz, and then I put this envelope into trigger mode. It's kind of like free run mode, or in the N-log, it just basically allows the entire decay stage to complete its life without worrying about the note off or the release of the note. So now I add a pitch envelope, make this thing go up and then down and then stay down. I turn it up. So let's punch some kicks off here. We'll try a little pattern here. Here we go. Here's my little basic kick drum. Got to fine tune that envelope. That's the most important part. Now I'm going to keep my operators in series, and I'm going to add just a little FM beater. Fix mode this, and trigger doesn't matter because it's so short. And now I'm going to go up to like somewhere around 200. I don't know. I'm just going to turn this up. Just a little punch. That's enough. Good enough for me. So now I'm just going to call that my drum. I could make more toms and snares and hi-hats, but today's about leads and stuff. So got to fill this thing out a tiny bit. Let's go ahead and just add one more operator. Oops, excuse me. Learn how to spell and load that sucker up. So now let's go ahead and just make a pad. I think for good measure, just so we have a backbeat, I'm going to grab that 707 snare drum. I'm just in the mood for that thing right now. So I'll drop it in and just pop it off here, somewhere like that. I'm just screwing around. Okay, so here we go, pad. You know, I got no velocity articulation on there. Hear that? I want to add a little velocity sensitivity to my kick drum. I'm going to add it to the beater too, even more. So it'll be soft when I play low. Put a swing on there too. I like this. Now I'm going to punch in a note. I don't really care what it is. How about F? No, F. It's a cool letter. Who cares? Let's throw a sine wave in here and see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and make my loop longer, and then I'm going to hit legato on this note. That'll make it go to the end of the clip. Here we go. So what do you guys want here? We could do anything. Normally we start with a sine wave with a full sustain. In the case of making a pad, maybe we'd give it a slower attack or a lead or something. Maybe we'd pull sustain down a little. Now let's just add some FM. So I could start with my tuning on 1 and with a full sustain just to hear it. So I'm adding more overtones, right? Slow attack this. So that's kind of cool. Let's try one more wave, but we're going to add some real brightness. I'm going to go up real high on this. And with this wave, I'm going to go ahead and add some velocity sensitivity, because with a lead or anything I'm going to want to play on the keyboard, I'm going to want to have maximum gestural control over the tone. So that's where getting into each of these operators and customizing their velocity sensitivity. And then finally going over here to the modulation tab, where you can go velocity, aftertouch, mod wheel, pitch bend, and route it out to stuff. That's going to be an important part too. So a concept I want to mention really quick is coarse tuning here and how it really works. I told you guys how it works in the sense that you're multiplying the fundamental pitch. But what I didn't tell you is a cool rule of thumb about even and odd numbers in the coarse tuning field. Generally, 1 through 7, and I told you this during our bass lesson, 1 through 7 for coarse tune covers all of the major and minor intervals of the Western scale. So like major third, minor third, perfect fifth, they're all in 1 through 7. Once you hit 8, things change. At 8, odd numbers evoke consonants, such as 9, 11, 13, whereas even numbers always evoke dissonance. So 8, 10, 12, 14, and so on. Those are always going to add dissonance. So that can be good. In this case, 27 is an odd number. So I know it's going to give me some more consonants to my patch. If I wanted dissonance, now I could go 28 or 4 or anything in the odd or in the even category. Let's play around with that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some odd, but I'm going to loop this envelope. This is a really fun technique. I'm going to put it in sync mode, and I'll put it on like 12th notes. I don't know. Oh, that was weird. Let me make sure somebody's trying to get into the Hangout. Come on in, Kali. All right. Let's see here. So I'm just going to loop this thing. I'm in pure series mode. I'm in 12th notes. Let's see what happens. Oh, you know why we're not hearing it? Because it's after this modulator. So what we need to do is try a different algorithm. Let's go with this, where we have one carrier and then 3 parallel modulators. This will give us the best pad activity, because then the 3 modulators are not affecting each other at all. We'll have 1 slow attack, 1 pluck, and then 1 looping. Another cool thing you can do is instead of sync, you can go loop, and then it just gives you milliseconds, but it's once the decay time ends. So you can put this all the way down. This can be a really fun one when you use your LFO, not to modulate pitch, but to modulate time. So now that milliseconds, those milliseconds of that envelope are going to get modulated. Oh boy. Oh yeah, dude. Let's go ahead and go brighter. So it's just an idea. I'm just making things move. That's all I'm doing. Because then later, you know, we could pick up our keyboard and maybe... I mean, it's just a stupid sound, but I'm just exploring things. I mean, I know LFO to global time is a great one. Let's go ahead and turn on our envelope and find another cool modulation target. In fact, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off pitch and LFO rate. And I'm actually going to do time from this one. That's going to free up my LFO for something else. This will be my time envelope. So check it out. This will be cool. I don't know. It's fun. Some Aphex Twin sounding thing, right? So now let's try this LFO and let's do something more rad, like FM depth. Overall FM depth. So this LFO is now going to modulate all 3 of these together. Oh man. Whoa. Let's try it. Oh, dude, we have some serious folding going on. Let's take a look at our waveform. I'm just having fun here, so don't judge me. Let's try it out. So, as you can see, I'm not using filters. I'm just routing operators together. I'm only using sine waves, and then I'm using modulators to evoke a little life and magic into this thing. It wouldn't be uncommon to further investigate in the interest of getting more interesting timbres out of this, to not just try different waveforms, but actually right down in here, you can do some really cool stuff that is overlooked a lot. You can retrigger or free run the waves like as if in an analog synth, and you can actually take the waves in and out of phase. You can see it right here, what you're doing. This is really fun. So now by adjusting the phase, it's not for the carrier, but for the modulators, you're going to get a different kind of result. It's not going to matter too much for sustaining sounds, but for plucking sounds it might. Let's listen and see what happens. Yeah, see, in this case it would need to be percussive to have an effect, but it's a good thing to be aware of that you can tweak. The other thing I wanted to show you guys that's also very awesome inside of the operator, FM8 can do this too. Operators can feed back into themselves. This is a really cool feature. And before I do it to this pad, I want to show you how it works just with a basic sine wave, just so I don't ruin our little patch trying to explain it. Let's grab that oscilloscope again. And what we're going to do is we're going to just turn on a sine wave here. And the way feedback works in the operator, this is not super obvious. So feedback, you'll notice that it's grayed out here, and here, and here, but not here. This is because this operator is the last modulator in the chain. So the very top, if you will. So if I took this algorithm and put it into this mode, all three of these are going to have feedback options. This is really cool, especially when you do this. I'm going to zoom out. Hold on. So this is just a regular FM patch. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just leave this fully sustained. So here's feedback. You know, on 0.5, it's not giving me that strong of a result. Hold on. I'm going to go into pure parallel mode. That way we can just have one sine with feedback. There we go. Okay. Here's what feedback looks like. Let's watch it on our phase-locked oscilloscope. Turns it into a saw wave. So this can be cool with an FM patch. Let's check it out. Let's make an FM patch here. Yeah. Do a little this. Go back to this guy. Now let's FM this, or feedback it. I'm going to turn this down a little bit so we don't kill anyone. So you can do that feedback to add some extra buzz. As you can imagine, knowing what you know about saw waves, it's every ordered harmonic. So that just adds a little extra buzz. I mean, let's try it with a waveform other than a sine wave. Wonder if we brought this thing real low, what would happen? You know, these are just buzzing tones, but I just wanted to show you what feedback does. So in this case, you know, we could apply feedback to any three of these just to make our sine wave a little more saw wave-ish. But feedback is also affected by phase. So once you start doing feedback, if the waveform is out of phase, you'll get slightly different results too. So it can be tricky. I really wanted to get this thing just to do something really rowdy, but it's not complying as well as I want it to. But tinker around with the feedback. It's good to know that those waves can do that. The other thing that's really cool to know is that it happens to be one of the other really cool modulation destinations. So for instance, I could do feedback right here, and that's something that my envelope or my LFO can control. So, of course, that could be a lot of fun too. So this is kind of just like a paddy texture thing. I don't know, it's okay, it's kind of neat. Maybe what we'll do is we'll just have it happen once every 16 bars or 8 bars. There you go. Let's make some new sounds. So I just gotta throw a little bass line in here, okay guys? What did we do, F? Yeah, F. I'm just gonna come down here to maybe a lower F zone and just punch in some 8th note. Here we go. Sub bass, right? But we can make it thicker with some sub octave 0.5 modulation. Now we can add some overtones. So with this one is where I add a lot of velocity sensitivity. I might even try, well, instead of the effect, let's just do this manually. Check it out, I'm gonna do this. So now I have a parallel modulator that's not gonna affect this one, it's just gonna bypass it and go right into that, right? Here we go. See how this works, it might not be cool. So now what I'll do, honestly, is grab the first modulator and detune it a tiny bit. Here we go. How about this? Just get completely off the musical register. It's going to sound way cooler. Pretty dissonant, so we can dial this thing in. Here's what I would do. I'd watch where my fundamental pitch is. It's hard to isolate. I can triangulate, I can mouse up to where I want it. I'm looking down here and I'm looking for an F. That's way high, let's go down. How about F right here, 1.42K. Here it is, 1.41, 1.42. What's cool about this is now I can detune this and get weird. What's not cool about this though, is as soon as I play a note other than an F, it's not going to have the same timbre. So it's just an experiment. See, there's an example where I prefer the odd number. 14 sounds cooler to me. All right, so there's my little FM bass. It's pretty gnarly, but whatever. So now we're going to make a lead. I could be a really good secretary. I can type really fast. Okay, here we go. Yay! The starting point for all FM patches. What do you think? Lead? I'm just going to listen to where I want this. we're gonna just take that and we put it up in the F range, and then I'll go up an octave. So I'm gonna turn this into a lead. I just need it to sit somewhere. I'll give myself a little more sustain. So let's add some parallel harmony. Look at this. I'm gonna go with this algorithm. So I got 1, 3, and 5. Those odd numbers, I love those. Now we have a global modulator, right? Yeah. So now we can go to each of these sustain levels and pull them down a little more dynamics, a little more release time. So the lead should not have sustain all the way down. So now that we have a basic little melody tone, which is nothing fancy, it's just some timbre. Now I'm going to go right to my mod section, and I'm going to head straight on in here. I'm going to be like, okay, mod wheel, FM depth, 50%. Also mod wheel, oscillator feedback, 100%. Pitch bend is fine with just pitch. Aftertouch, FM depth. Aftertouch, LFO amount. All the way. Oops. All the way. When your modulator is some good unless you something. Frank Sinatra. Okay. With velocity, you could do FM depth here too. You could also go filter cutoff. That might be a little boring. How about crossfading your oscillators? How about tone? Let's do global tone. So now we have a real lead because this thing's going to be really playable from the keyboard. As you can hear, I have it in monophonic mode, which you probably wouldn't want for, well, depending on what kind of lead you're going for. Let's play some chords. And then the glide is totally cranked way up just for fun. Just a weirdo. So it's
James,
yeah.
just a small question. Can you elaborate on the aftertouch?
Yeah, absolutely.
I never used it, so.
Sure. So aftertouch is kind of like velocity, but it's streaming constantly during sustain. So not all controllers will transmit aftertouch, but most like MIDI controllers that are more than about $300 will have aftertouch. So it's not uncommon, like for a push user, for instance, to really lean on aftertouch because that controller, as you hold those pads down, you can, during sustain, you can kind of shake your butt, and then you'll get timbre or whatever kind of changes you're looking for. Most common modulation target from aftertouch is modulation depth. So like vibrato. So if you hold the keys down soft, you just get a steady tone, and if you then push harder, you can evoke some vibrato. I, of course, like using it in maybe different ways, but that's a good conceptual use for it that seems pretty simple.
Yeah, actually, that's really cool.
Yeah,
To
it's
put
really cool.
my MIDI controller can do that, but it's like something that I would really want.
It's really fun. And you know, unfortunately right now I'm sitting at my desk and I just have this QWERTY keyboard, so I'm doing this like clunking around on this shit. But it's certainly really nice having that in there. So let's try and make this thing into a lead here. Okay, I'm gonna give myself a little more sustain. This guy. And I'm gonna give myself a little bit of vibrato. But maybe I'll vibrato just the modulator. Oh yeah. Because if this was a subtractive synth, I'd just vibrato the oscillators. But we're doing FM, so let's add some frequency modulation just to the modulator. Oh, it's too subtle. Where are you? What the? Oh, pop quiz. Anyone know what I just did wrong? I'm like, where's my FM? Because I went FM drive velocity all the way up, aftertouch all the way up, modulate, and I have no velocity control right now. So I'm going to just manually turn up my velocity on my QWERTY keyboard. Now we're cooking, right? I got to turn these other guys off. There we go. Right, so now we can hear that LFO modulation. Yeah, totally. Pretty bright. Maybe, oh, I did it again. LFO amplitude. God, watch out if you're over there plunking around just to show off like you know what the things do, and then you do it wrong. So, or you don't have a keyboard that has velocity. So now this thing's going to be totally ham. I'll turn this down. Yeah. That's a little more like what I was expecting. Okay. That's kind of cool. Slow attack on that LFO too, huh? And then let's go ahead and also LFO FM drive. Okay, so in this case, I'm no longer liking poly. I'm gonna go back to mono and I'm gonna give myself some glide. That's cool. Okay, so here we go. I'm just totally plunking things in there without thinking about it. That's how I roll, and then I fix it. Let's see. So we want no glide here. Turning this velocity way down on this one. I'm going to back this off. Basically, I made this first note quiet to make space for this, because these guys are frequency masking each other right now. I can't even hear this anymore. Much better now, right? Now it's just kind of harmonizing a little versus burying it. Let's pan them. Make a quick hi-hat here. Oops. Time. So hi-hats, I don't know, I'm just screwing around. But this is cool, it's a little sketch, kind of fun. It's kind of sweet. This pad is, you know, I need to refine that a little more, but it's getting us off the ground just using operators, routing, velocity, and envelopes. Coarse tuning. Hopefully I've armed you guys with the knowledge that it is going to require to design the sounds that you think of. Because every time I open up Operator, I end up making something new, even though I've personally probably clicked on everything there is to click on in there. It's just so diverse. Oh, there's some feedback. Cool. But how about that bass line? It's pretty cool, huh? So let's try something fun really quick. Yeah, let's try this. Effect. Oh, yeah. Here. I'm just screwing around here, guys. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm just having some fun.
Actually, I do have one question.
Let's hear it.
About the FM algorithm.
Say that again?
The FM algorithm.
Algorithm, sure, yep. This guy, yep.
Yeah, it's just because I remember in the beginning of the video you were talking about, okay, so this structure is good for like a basic path and so on. So I was like thinking all those different structure, like in general, what are they good for? Like for example, if I want to create some percussion sounds, which one I want to go with, or maybe if I want to create like a kick, maybe for example, which one I want to go with, like just in general, you know.
Sure. Well, while I'd love to just have a list of instruments in the band that each of these algorithms is best for, fortunately for the creative side of our brains, FM doesn't work that way. What it does do is just allow you to explore these territories. What I can help you with is arming you with some awareness of what types of timbres these different objects are going to suggest for you. You could make a great kick drum with any of these. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a matter of how much FM you want. So this algorithm here is additive, meaning that each oscillator just makes a sound and you mix them. Not unlike subtractive synthesis. In fact, this is subtractive. Once you use waveforms like saws and squares and apply a low-pass filter, this is the subtractive algorithm. It's additive if you only use sine waves and no filter. Once you move into any of these other algorithms, this selection is just asking you how much FM do you want? How much metallic do you want? If you have this function is going to get you the most complex FM aspects, meaning the brightest overtones, and you're going to be able to get way, what am I trying to say? It's hard to describe, but basically, considering that each of these modulators can multiply the fundamental pitch and you're running them all into each other, this algorithm is going to be able to be extremely bright, right? Whereas an algorithm like this is more going to be able to be built like a subtractive patch, where you have like 3 oscillators that are all making cool waveforms, and then you can add some FM. You know, if I was somebody who wanted to use the operator like a subtractive synth, I'd use this algorithm. Because what I would do is I'd use square and saw waves and a filter, and I'd just use these 3 oscillators, and it would be awesome. And then I could be like, but wait, I now have a really gnarly 3 oscillator subtractive patch with a filter, and now I can add FM, which would then take it into kind of another dimension. So, you know, unfortunately, but also fortunately, there is no simple recipe for which of these algorithms are going to work best for particular types of sounds. I think for some types of teachers, they would just say, I make the Skrillex bass with this algorithm, and I set each of these coarse tunings to 1, 3, 7, and 29, and then each of these are detuned this much. I kind of teach that way, but not very much. I don't really like it. I'd much rather teach you the components and then help empower you with the confidence that you need to explore mindfully, you know, so versus just like brainlessly clicking and guessing, you can think, okay, now I know what this is doing. So, you know, I use this algorithm a lot for drums, because this way I get two parallel operators that I can tune and harmonize, but then they both have one FM modulator. I use this algorithm a lot for pads and textures, and also subtractive style patches. I use this algorithm when I want no modulation. I just want tone. I use this algorithm when I want maximum brightness. Here's a really cool reason to use, like, I have a good idea. Let's make one more pad, because this pad is a little annoying. Let's face it. There's always something new to be found in here, so I'm just going to arm this. And I'm going to show you a good reason to use this algorithm. Good reason is because the LFO and envelope can crossfade your operators. So if you crossfaded B and D, meaning the volume of these two crossfaded like back and forth, that would not work if you were in this algorithm. Because when B got turned down, D wouldn't be doing anything because B is down. So if you choose this algorithm, B and D both have their own unique, distinct effect, and they are not affecting each other at all. Let's try it. This could be fun. Whoa! Hi. Turn that off. Oh, I gotta zoom out, sorry. With this case, you're gonna want full sustain here. There's the crossfade. Second. Now here, let's turn this one up and make it brighter. I know you like that. Right? Whoops. Let's put this in random and then clock sync it. Oh, dude. I don't know. I like out of sync better. Right. So is that a lead or a bass? Who knows? Let's go low. You get the idea. I just want you to dive into this level 4 with FM and just be doing it right from the ground up. And oftentimes, grabbing a preset and trying to reverse engineer it is more confusing than it should be. So this is James Patrick with Ableton Certified Training Center Slam Academy. We are offering online programs in Ableton Live, sound design, DJing, as well as other amazing topics for electronic music production and performance. Hit us up, www.slamacademy.com. Thanks a lot.